Well, titled this chapter maybe the utility of awareness. It's kind of going to blend utility of the body, the physical, and the utility of the mind. I'm going to kind of add in maybe some society tribe type thought experiment. 'Cause I think our awareness, our utility of awareness, is is being lost because we are probably the most plugged in. It's almost a boredom paradox, right? Is that a good word? Paradox? We're the most plugged in. We've got phones, we've got tablets, we wear earbuds, we watch short videos that don't have a congruent subject. We can watch a video from cats jumping off the sofa because they're scared by something, that goes to a stand-up comedian, goes into your favorite or most unfavorite sports team, and it comes into maybe an opinion, a worldview, or a news type thing. So we have this infinite, I don't want to say information, we have infinite entertainment in our pocket all the time. But then we feel, well, I don't say we, I think there's a feeling of boredom because I think we've oversaturated or overstimulated ourselves. I think I've brought it up before, the 24-hour cycle of information. I don't think we're built for that. I think to add to it is we're trading reality for a perceived world because we're choosing simulations over where we're standing, like the physical room we're in, the bus we're on, the plane we're on, the waiting room we're in. We don't we don't have we're losing reasoning. I say that because we can't sit in silence. And I'm using the word we is a general. I'm not saying everybody does this. I'm not saying I don't do this. But if you can't sit in silence 15 minutes, you can't 30 minutes, you can't reflect, you can't digest, you can't think, right? Maybe think. I mean, because if you can't think, do you have a position or you just have a reaction to events when they happen? Is it have a position or an opposition? That'd be a great podcast topic. Position or opposition? Oh, let's blend it in the mind and the body utility. If we're kind of on the body side, if we're always engaged in something, we're depriving our senses, one of our senses or many of our senses. Say like we put earbuds in when you're walking down the street, or your eyes are down, ears plugged in. I mean, so now you're voluntarily deaf because you're missing the wind in the trees, birds calling to each other, traffic. You don't hear the car behind you accelerating real fast. You don't hear the car trying to stop real fast. You can't hear the limb cracking over there or falling in the distance. You lose the awareness of somebody walking up behind you. I mean, I'm not trying to be like a survivalist or trying to scare somebody, but we're losing our situational awareness because we're actually voluntarily deaf and blind to our environment. I mean, that could plug into a lot of things. I don't want to be doom and gloom about it, but we're taking away from our reality. I just consumed an article talking about some of the new writings or styles of writings of short stories in the video world. Maybe, I'll use Netflix as a example. I'm not picking on any one platform, but writers are now intentionally making it simpler, making it more simple, but they're intentionally writing more description into dialogue because they know or think you're looking at another device at the same time. I think the word that was in the piece I read is they're writing, calling it a second screening because like I said, I'm using it very general. We have a device with us and we're trying to watch a movie, video, whatever you want to call it. But that's a second screening because out of boredom or out of, I would say, addiction, we're looking at something else. The need to have the information all the time. Like I said, I don't think we're built that way. Well, okay, why does that matter? Why does it matter? Why am I talking about the second screening or the loss of perception or the loss of sensory, being blind in your environment or being deaf in your environment? Or perception or observation is a skill to be able to observe, to be able to predict, to see relations, connect the dots. This happened because of that. This is going to happen or because of this environment. This scene, this can only happen because this temperature is here. I mean, it sounds small, but if you can't pay attention to a movie plot, how does that populate into analyzing a problem at school, at work, anywhere else? You can't read body language of somebody else because you're not aware, you haven't seen it, you haven't, I don't want to say practicing it, but you're losing skill. You're losing another skill. Go back to the mind is skill of reasoning or observation. You're intentionally put yourself in a silo. Prime example. I get to travel a little bit and like airport, say bus, taxi, waiting room, dentist office, restaurant. Hopefully, if I mention this, they'll make you aware. See how many people in the same space you could have. So we got 4 people. We'll say mom, dad, and 2 kids. Dad's checking email. Mom's writing a blog post. Kids are on iPads, phones, whatever, watching 2 different cartoons, videos, shows. It's 4 people in the same space, but they're totally in different worlds. They're physically in the same space, but mentally they're in different silos. Why does that matter? It's not a shared experience anymore. The memory of each person is going to be different. They're getting different simulation or stimulation at the same time. I've mentioned before about being at a tipping point with so many of the younger generation watching things, not experiencing things on video. They're almost to the point where they're going to have more memories of things they've watched than they've actually physically done. So 10 years from now, that dinner, lunch time in the car, there's no shared memory because everybody's going to remember something different. Somebody's going to remember the cartoon they were watching, the video they were watching, the blog post they were writing, the stress of the email they were checking. It's breaking up. I like to use the word tribe. I mean, tribe's your family, your friends, your social circle. We're losing communication. We're in different silos when we're being entertained all the time instead of being in the physical space. A good way of saying that, nothing about being in silos in physical space, bringing back communication. The majority of communication is handled now. It's typed. It's not spoken. communicate through comments, communicate through texting, email. So that's kind of losing another skill. I mean, skill of communication is you don't have eye contact, can't see body language, can experience the tone, like the tone of voice, how it's said. That probably brings in why sometimes it feels like when somebody responds, it feels like it's almost ugly. It's because their tone, because it hasn't been practiced, it hasn't been used. It feels short, kind of snappy, but is that intentional? I really try to take it as genuine as the first impression. Try to look where it's coming from, especially if it's a younger generation. Just a statement or question directed at some and they kind of snap back, or are they intentionally being a jerk, or is it just because they don't have the practice of communicating with each other? I can bring in on this topic, I can bring in a little stoic viewpoint just because I have Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and it's an old English style translation. I believe it says, or he says, or wrote, confine thyself to the present. I think his intentional meaning was different time, different stimulus. Confine yourself to the present, saying a little more modern. That means don't look to the past or worry about the future. Okay, I'm going to pivot a little bit and use the confine yourself to the present as being present in your shoes physically. Like, see where you're at, hear where you're at. You can't use your utility, whatever utility we want to talk about. You can't use that utility in a simulated world, like say in the digital world. Everything in the digital world, when you're watching the video, playing the game, all the parameters, all the rules, everything's fixed. The director sets the scene, sets everything, temperature, wind direction. But you can't have a utility when you're watching something. Well, that's a good way of saying that. You can't, but you can't use your utility of action, unless you're here. You're not in the digital world. Is the environment, like the now, the reality. It's been spoken of since the beginning of time, how to determine reality in the philosophy world. But whatever environment, say if you're staring at your device, that's your environment, right? Then you've locked in, you've taken that sense and you're using it there. You're not using the sense to see this office. You're not using the sense to see the microphone over there. You're looking at whatever device, whatever short you're looking at. You're taking away the sense of your reality. So it kind of dictates your reasoning, dictates how the environment relates to everything. Your reactions or your actions is dictated by the environment you're in, or influences, not dictate, it's a bad way of saying it, influences. So let's do the challenge. This week, we're going to do the one step harder challenge again. I think I've mentioned this before. Yeah, I'm going unplugged. I talked about the blackout weekend, blackout day. Let's do an unplugged challenge. Let's unplug on a commute, waiting room, restaurant, which I think is sad. People don't unplug now from a restaurant. You're sharing a meal with someone, don't have phones. No, people talk about this all the time, but next time you're walking, waiting, riding transportation, look around, see how many people don't have a phone, don't have earbuds. I'll even bring a book into it. Like, let go of the book. 15, 20 minutes at some point. That's the challenge. A one step harder challenge. I'm big on reading books, but it depends on the environment, location. So no phone, no earbuds, no book. Be in your shoes. Like confine yourself to the present. All right, I'm Vulcan. Till next time.